One of the industries hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic is the hospitality industry. And joining me is Chief Executive Officer of Restaurant and Catering Australia, Wes Lambert. Wes, thanks so much for your time today. First of all, to the new restrictions that have come into effect in New South Wales today. No longer dancing allowed. We've been living under that 1 person per 2 square metre rule as well. Hospitality is really having a tough time at the moment, isn't it?
Oh, look, hospitality and accommodation food service have been the hardest hit during the entire pandemic, and we continue to get hammered. Look, with the case numbers in New South Wales and Victoria and around the country today, it is most certain that we are in the 4th wave of COVID, and we do expect that there may be additional restrictions in the future. However, we have continued to call upon the New South Wales government and soon the Victorian government to follow South Australia's lead and to re-implement business support, because hospitality businesses will not be able to trade fully with density restrictions and no dancing and singing and other restrictions affecting their businesses into the future, especially since we have such a critical staff shortage, due not only to the critical staff shortage that existed because of the border closures that were already in place, but now we have so many close contacts and so many in that 18 to 29-year-old age group who typically work in hospitality. Now, either close contacts or having COVID themselves, has ended up with thousands upon thousands of hospitality businesses that have been forced to close over this lucrative holiday period.
So despite the situation we're in at the moment, are you against the restrictions that were announced yesterday and that have come into effect today for hospitality?
Oh, look, we understand that the government is using a scalpel instead of a sledgehammer and going slowly in reintroducing restrictions, and certainly any restrictions that affect an industry like hospitality need to be followed by stimulus. Look, it's the health advice that the Premier has been given and the health authorities have given to the health minister. And so ultimately, we will encourage businesses to follow those and follow the rules and the laws that are in place. However, they need to be followed on with government support. And certainly the government has said time and time again that they have given billions and billions and billions of dollars to the hardest hit industries. The problem is all of that is in the past, and we are in the present, and there are nearly 100,000 cases of COVID in Australia today. And this has certainly affected consumer confidence, which is affecting the hospitality industry, which must have some stimulus.
Well, speaking of that consumer confidence, the ANZ had that report that we heard about yesterday that spending has hit in Sydney the lowest level since the pandemic hit our shores in 2020, and no doubt the hospitality industry as well.
Oh, look, I've had at least 100 phone calls in the past couple of weeks, and my team has had likely thousands of calls of restaurants that either closed for the entire holiday period, so for 2 weeks when they normally would have been open and trading quite strongly, or have had to close because they've had so many cancellations from consumers that are just afraid to be out in the community. Yeah. So ultimately, we listened to the government say that case numbers didn't matter and that we needed to look at hospitalizations and ICUs, but apparently case numbers do matter. And now that we have restrictions coming back in place, we must have business support behind them, or businesses will suffer, and that means employees will suffer.
We've seen significant disruption in supply chains as well that has been affecting supermarkets, and no doubt this is affecting restaurants as well. What are you hearing there?
Oh, look, that's a twofold problem. The first is that businesses are ordering up for what they expect to be this busy summertime holiday period, only to be faced with cancellations from consumers that are afraid. So they have a lot of stock to rubbish. But also we are beginning to hear about prices increasing for restaurateurs, cafes and caterers for those supplies that they're getting. So it's really a double whammy. They're paying more for things that they end up having to throw away.
Yeah, it is a tough time at the moment for restaurants and hospitality. Wes Lambert, really appreciate your thoughts today. Thanks.